Devon, Faizaan, Mieszko, and Peng. You are all building incredible products in the Miden ecosystem, and we've been chatting over the last few months about supporting your individual apps and also kind of understanding how you guys are thinking about the privacy space with the individual products you're building. So maybe let's get started with a quick round of intros, and then yeah, we'll get into it. Hey, Peng, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I think you can hear the fireworks now.
Barely, barely.
I hope they should be fine. But yeah, I'm Peng, building Qash on Miden, which is a financial platform for Web3 companies to make payment, like payroll, making payment to your teammates, paying vendors, receiving funds from client, and also earning on idle funds whenever you want, as well as spending the funds, because handling reimbursement in crypto is pretty troublesome, at least for us, while preserving privacy on chain. There's a quick brief about what is Qash. So basically, we are trying to solve two issues. First is project transparency, blockchain transparency, actually adding extra time cost to Web3 companies to run payroll, because people actually need to move the money from Safe to Kraken or Binance, and then they need to distribute the funds manually through Kraken, some of them, at least from user interviews. And actually this add operational friction where these kind of crypto companies, they need to rely on a fragmented of tools like Genesys Safe, Excel, and sometimes centralized exchange. So basically that's the value proposition of Qash and what we are building.
Awesome. Devon, Faizaan.
I'm going to hop in. Oh, sorry, Faizaan, you want to go first?
No. Please go for it.
Cool. All right. So, hey everyone, my name's Devon. I'm one of the co-founders of Lumina Engine. There's three of us, so it's myself, Faizaan, and Devon. And we have been building this project for quite some time, but more recently, in the past month, it started to take a bit more shape. We are a pretty cool team, actually, in terms of our background and what we've been working on in the past. We met through our previous company, Linum Labs, which was a software development agency working with clients from all across the world. So we have pretty decent background in building applications and products for the Web3 space. And I think we all got pretty obsessed with the privacy niche in the past couple of months when we kind of saw the potential for institutional adoption and where it could go in the future. So that's kind of what we've been focusing most of our attention towards, and specifically what we're building at Lumina Engine is something that we're starting with more private trading and private payments. So starting off with like swaps, limit orders, private payments to individuals, and then also increasing pretty soon we're opening into loans, and then growing obviously from there. Our goal is to potentially get more into the compliance space. It's kind of like our next add-on to it, but we are really excited to kind of see how this space also starts taking shape as privacy starts becoming a more mainstream topic. But yeah, I'm going to hand over to Faiz to do a quick introduction to himself and also to fill in the gaps of anything I might have forgotten in our intro.
Yeah, so Faizaan, co-founder of Lumina with Dev over there. So yeah, I think Dev summed up, what our initial near-term aims is quite well. We kind of really leaned into the privacy space and building Lumina because of what it can enable for the crypto space, right? So privacy was the missing link. We're seeing everyone say it. So CZ posted something about it earlier today as well. It's a big topic, right? Crypto is having growing pains, and I think privacy is the next link for that next stage of growth. A lot of what we've seen in the past couple of years, like specifically around finance, right? Because most of crypto has been finance recently. So we're leaning into that, but we want to take it to the next level. Privacy allows us to not only migrate users, to this privacy primitive, but we believe it's where we can actually onboard new users, where it makes sense for more people to come on board because of the general interaction of privacy, right? It's something that we do all require, whether retail or institutional. It is something we require. So I think that's a big reason for building Lumina. But yeah, we starting with the primitives of, the private finance applications that they've mentioned, trading, payments, and lending, because we see that as core primitives that are needed at this point.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Mieszko, round us out.
Hey, I'm Mieszko, co-founder of Zoroswap, the other co-founder being Miko, who couldn't join today. So we started out wanting to build a prop AMM on Miden, and we have some experience from EVM, but learning more and more about the capabilities of Miden, we actually expanded the scope a lot. So from prop AMM, we went to a dark pool prop AMM with privacy. But then we realized that actually we can, sorry, my cat is going crazy. One of my cats anyway. So we realized that we can get to places where prop AMMs couldn't even think of, because we don't need to update the prices on chain, and we can get extreme capital efficiency, extremely high throughput, and so on, which then made us realize that given the privacy and Miden, the strategy of Miden itself, we try to position ourselves as the go-to swap, permissionless, private, and seamless, and capital efficient for all the great applications that are coming for Miden, be it payroll, be it remittance, and be it anything else.
Amazing. And you guys naturally touched on a lot of this in your latest answers, but something that we're seeing in the space is privacy is obviously the next frontier, both in terms of crypto native research and just pushing the bounds on things like ZK, which Miden is certainly doing. But it's also kind of the frontier in terms of a lot of the fintech and institutional interest, which Devon, you touched on as well. And so I'm curious, how did you guys figure out that Miden was kind of the appropriate stack to build each of your individual products? Because obviously B2B private payroll, private trading with an institutional focus, and a swap interface is all very, very different. And so I'm curious what Miden has enabled for you guys in terms of making the experience better, and why you guys decided to build your three new businesses on this stack.
I'm happy to kick off. Oh, yeah, go on.
No,
Very
please,
polite crew
Mieszko, go.
here. Just jump in. The more you guys talk over each other, the more natural it'll be. So go for it.
Sure. So, I think from our side, there's a lot of pluses with Miden's tech, of course. The team is technically astute. What they're architecting was validated by our senior engineer, Devon, who, I trust his judgment implicitly, and he claimed that they have good tech to work on, to build what we're aiming to build. But I think a big reason for me was their whole team and the founding team's idea of practical privacy. I think that's what got us into building it and got us really interested and engaged with Miden, because privacy has been tried in various forms in crypto for a while now, right? But it's generally associated with illicit, associated with a lot of negative things for various actors, right? So the idea of practical privacy, being able to engage within licensed environments using this tech, made sense to me. Because from our perspective, it makes sense. This is who we want to target. We want to target, we don't want to target the illicit actors. We want to target the good actors, and practical privacy, being able to adhere to compliance while still remaining completely private. I think that was the biggest thing, yeah, right? So we can enforce rules within our node system to kind of enforce rules deterministically prior to any interactions happening. So I think for me, from that point of view, building with a team that has that same vision of how privacy should be done, I think that was a big one for me. Non-technical answer, but I think it matters a lot.
Yeah, I think it makes a difference, certainly.
Should I go next?
Any order is great with me. The more you guys talk over each other, the better.
Yeah. So for Qash, I think is luck and fate, because our team was initially building on .NET, and we built like Genesis safe on .NET. So basically, we built this because we want to use this, because at that time there's no such thing on .NET. We built this, we received a grant, and we're building for a few months. And at the end of the day, it's only us using this, and there's no users. We run out of money and we pivot. So at the time, it's like I was playing around. I found Miden, and Miden is very friendly to me. They're very supportive. They give me some money to build something. So that's first reason why we are building this. And also the privacy part is good because of our team members. We pay on chain. I think the second is, I think the architecture is pretty interesting, like the actor model, local execution, the state model. So at that time, I decided to maybe go a bit far, and I was far until now. I think I will still be building on Miden. And I think the last one is the team, and the team is good. Like the role is very clear. Like Dominic's for product, Azim doing business, and Bobin is like full technical people. And also they are backed by good investors, and also spin out from Polygon. And I have the feeling that they are very potential. That's why we are building on Miden.
Yeah, I think I also agree with that. I think in the sense of for us, what really mattered in the tech stack was kind of like that client side proving, which fundamentally changed the trust model for compared to I guess like a lot of other L2s. And
Totally.
because we also have we have quite a big background in I guess like building products, and for what we're building, this kind of changes everything. So like going from that public to it's everything hidden versus that selective disclosure. And the other big factor, as Andrew Peng mentioned it, was that ecosystem stage. So Miden being so early, we believe is actually kind of a feature because it allows us, these early ecosystems really allow you to help shape the norms and infrastructural patterns and the product standards together. And I feel like that also creates a lot of real growth incentives for builders such as like us and all of the pioneers in the program. So not just I guess like token incentives, but actually like really like narrative of the gravity, like the ecosystem support and a real deep collaboration, because it feels like you're not really plugging into something finalized, but building something together. And yeah, I think, I mean, also like what you mentioned as well, that leadership from the Miden team really matters too. And when you have someone like, for example, Bobbin, who's like this tech wizard, who's kind of giving these protocol level decisions and thinking about how privacy and scalability are actually converging, it gives us a lot of confidence as well that the architecture isn't just clever, but also coherent and has a strong chance of like building into something really brilliant in the future.
So I couldn't agree more with what Devon, Peng, and Faizaan said. So not to reiterate too much on it, I think Miden's team has a very practical and sensible approach technically, but also business-wise in what they are aiming at, and that's a breath of fresh air in the blockchain space lately, with so many just clones of L2s and other stuff popping up, which really didn't differentiate themselves much. And Miden is not just differentiating; it's actually very much does and attempts to do what I would personally think is where we should go as a space. But technically, in the blockchain space, we tend to forget that any real world for any real world finances, be it high or retail, privacy is a given. You can't really do anything without that. You don't want anybody to know what you have, what you buy. If you're trading, if you leak information, then that produces losses. There's no way around it. And there were some attempts to add privacy, but to Faizaan's point, some of them were too cypherpunk maybe. So actually,
Like the right balance of practical. Yeah.
yeah,
Makes
that
sense.
you
Makes
still need
sense.
to have some way to be compliant if you want to be integrated with the real world, so to speak. Or it was extremely inefficient, right? Very slow, and you couldn't really have any practicality. And Miden, with their approach and the edge execution, what Devon mentioned, it's actually privacy is cheaper and more efficient than having public data.
That's really what we've found is like the feature set is exactly this right balance of gets the job done in terms of privacy, but there is also auditability in the cases that you need it. There's clearly like client side proving, and there's just like it's very clear that some of the thought behind how it was architected was for both crypto native and institutional use cases. So I actually want to go back to something, Faizaan, you said about how you're excited about Miden because not only is it privacy, but there's also this angle of the ability to onboard new users. And I wanted to understand that a little bit more. Obviously, you all are building extremely different products. And I imagine that there's like different factors to consider when building a private product. And so I'm curious, like, one, what does that look like so far? And two, how is that translated in the users you're actually seeing use your product? And of course, this question goes for all of you.
Yeah, so obviously we're a pre-launch product, of course, at the moment, right? So a lot of what we've been digging and finding out at the moment is via user interviews, feeling what people are saying in that, and we've kind of hosted interviews with various people, a couple institutions, crypto native users as well as like non-crypto users, right? So for crypto users, the biggest thing we found is, or native users, is they have a bit of a friction in moving over to new systems, moving over to complete privacy systems. And they don't want changes in the way your like application operates compared to what they're using at the moment, be it Uniswap exchanges, payment methods or whatever. So for us, the application, it has to feel like for crypto native users for a retail product, it has to feel like a normal product. There shouldn't be any friction. There shouldn't be any difference. And I think that's something that's struggling in privacy at the moment. The experience of the product. I think there would be some issues like shifting people over if they are like already used to what their cases are, used to working with MetaMask and whatnot. But we have like our aim was create a familiar like area for them to play in. So our app is all about familiarity in terms of the trading and payments. Feels familiar to user. They're going to use it exactly how they would MetaMask or whichever other applications they use, right? I think in terms of getting new users on board, a lot of people still don't like people that don't operate in crypto. They don't necessarily understand the need to, but they do have issues with general banking, right? Like the long-term sending and whatnot, and waiting over weekends, the various excuses we've already heard in banking. And I think from that perspective, stablecoins are going to play an important part in our applications if we're able to onboard those users. And I think Para, like for example, like this is just to mention you guys now. So integrating with Para Wallet, using something simple to sign up for users that are generally not crypto native, that makes a big difference, right? Because we can make an experience feel very seamless to them if it's a Gmail sign up, if it's a simple sign up. So we think we can get them on board to it, but I do think that a lot of these users, these non-crypto users, they don't necessarily want to see Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a whole lot of other assets on your application. They just want to see stable coins or not even stable coins at all, just their Forex patterns that they generally
Dollar
use.
denominated
Euro,
assets.
USD. Correct.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult one to solve, and I think we really need to apply, are we building an application for the crypto native migrations or for new users coming on board, or how do we kind of balance this to attract both? I don't think that answered all your questions, but that's just a bit of my thought on it there.
Of course it did. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting as we're kind of building out and doing our early beta testing and user interviews and everything, kind of seeing what the difficulties are or the challenges. building a private system. I mean, so for us, I guess, as we're kind of exploring this, we're seeing, obviously, like most people are like, okay, ZK is hard, VMs are risky, tooling is immature, like there's all of these like really like, I guess, like more technical topics. But what I'm thinking, or what we're starting to see, is that actually like the real challenge for us is, I guess, like educating users who don't know why they should care. And kind of like explaining that ecosystem narrative to risk. And then obviously, like, as well as we're all building, and I'm sure everyone else on the call has the same, this kind of like UX fragmentation of kind of trying to teach our users how to use these new systems where obviously it's not native to, first of all, not even starting with Web3 native people, but people that are already Web3 native and now having to explore these new ways of actually making privacy fundamental in what they're using and how they experience it. And yeah, I guess those are kind of, I guess, like some of the things that we're busy facing now as we're designing this app based on our user feedback and trying to change things to make it obviously more familiar for them. Coming down to, I guess, like shared language, communication, how we're actually designing properly. And I mean, I guess I think talking as well, I guess, about how products need to be designed in a way where privacy feels inherent and built into the system, but people are still aware that privacy is there.
Yeah, for us, it's of course important, but our main target is not retail users, I think, as we are an exchange. So crypto natives who want to swap privately and with better efficiency and lower fees will probably naturally flock. That's what I would expect anyway and hope for. But we target the other protocols to provide them with low friction private swapping lanes. That said, we still have a UI, and actually integration with Para was a huge upgrade, and embedded wallets are the future. I mean, the Web3 UX is abysmal. We kind of got used to that, but yeah. It's very hard to explain or show, and if anyone
Yeah, without showing it.
Yeah, right. Like then you have to install this and save those, and it's like
Look at this JSON and then sign this. Yeah, it's. I mean,
Download that,
Mieszko,
consume that.
yeah, it's hard to describe without actually going through the friction yourself. But Mieszko and Jupeng, both of you actually gave us a lot of good feedback in terms of the product. Specifically, one area that we were like building on Miden, we realized like, oh yeah, we should definitely support this is private balances. Like Miden has this concept of both public balances and private balances, which is really, really cool. Our modal kind of defaults to the public balance. And so for us, I think that was very, very valuable feedback in terms of iterating in our product set that's offered for Miden pioneers. And so I'm actually curious, like, were there other infra decisions or things you had to rethink because you were building on Miden and because of the nature of a private product? I know, and Mieszko, you're closer to this, but we've chatted a lot about notes and the concept of notes in the Miden ecosystem. And so, yeah, curious, like, what things about Miden have you had to just keep top of mind as you're building your businesses and products?
Yeah, it's completely different than your typical Web3. And it's fun because of that. But it also allows you to build, if you just open your mind enough, build things that were unthinkable. Like, so we started with prop AMM, which is already quite a novel thing, like doing market making but on chain and automated. But what we can do is we can actually marry that back to certain features of an order book. So we actually combined all the features, positive features of a fully on-chain AMM, but also have the extra efficiency of having order matching, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And what will it be? Well, the edge execution. So you can actually execute. You can be your own sequencer, and you can just yeah, you can control MEV. You can just cut latency with that. There's a lot to get into. Probably not the best time to go into the details, but be happy to chat.
Yeah, we'll have to do
more.
part 2. Awesome. Peng, I know you had some interesting shifts from when you first started building Qash to the iteration it's at now. So I'm curious, like, did anything about the stack impact how you were thinking about the product and the business, and how you've kind of navigated those decisions?
Yeah, I think in terms of infra, the most I think the hardest part that we need to solve previously is about private multi-sig. Because of the private state, it was stored in local. So whenever you have a multi-sig, you have 3 people, and because of all these state are private. So whenever someone makes some changes, you need to sync with other users, and basically it's a trouble that we don't know how to sync this. I mean, we can sync this in a centralized way, but then people may criticize you. You are not privacy. So actually, this issue has been a big problem on us. But I think a good thing is, luckily, recently Miden has this private state manager, which actually did this private state synchronization. So now we don't need to care about this. So we also integrated with Para, which I think is already remove all the complexity about private multi-sig. So they don't need to install a new wallet, like signing all these things. They just, log in with their Gmail, and then they have private multi-sig. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool, because previously we do like a POC that looks very bad like a few months ago. But yeah, I think now it looks pretty good. It's already usable, and we are ready to onboard business users like Web3 companies.
Amazing. So you guys are all kind of seasoned founders and have built other businesses in the space for a very, very long time. And I'm curious, if a founder is evaluating building things in the privacy space, what are the things that should be top of mind? Something that comes to mind to me, and this is from the wallet side, is like there's so many different flavors of privacy. It's really hard to know like what is what. And so that's top of mind for me whenever I hear a team building in the privacy space. But I'm curious, since you guys are all seasoned, like what are the top of mind things that people should be thinking about?
I think, I mean, in terms of what you should think about, it's what degree of privacy do your users want? Because that's a big thing, right? Like, I mean, there's various, like, what degree of privacy do they want, as well as what degree of control do they want, right? So Miden allows for self-custody as well as privacy. A lot of other privacy protocols and like privacy, people building in privacy, or I guess infrastructure being built in privacy, it's technically not self-custody. It's funds held in a smart contract or collectively pulled together. So I think that's a big one. Do your users want that self-custody, and what degree of privacy do they want? Because Miden creates like a very it's deep privacy that you can get into, right? You can determine how private you build as well, which is nice, right? But I found like different user profiles want different degrees of privacy. So retail, they just want private balances and anonymity, right? So what a lot of people are doing at the moment to maintain their own privacy, like with mere send transactions, they send to a centralized exchange and then send to their end user, right? Just to break people from seeing into their wallets, right? It's a very common thing. I've actually had market makers do it and various other parties do it as well. But these are users that just require anonymity in terms of their wallet balances. They don't want people they're interacting with to see into their balances, right? But then you go further where you get users to not, like people who simply don't want people to see what transaction sizes they're doing, right? This is for larger players, institutions. They don't want anyone to see the trade sizes they're making, what they're moving, and the assets they're moving. So that's like an extra step of privacy, like actually
Or like
preserving
specificity.
the transaction. Yeah.
Totally.
So you need to understand that. What is it? What level of privacy do your users want? And then I would say from there determine what's the best way to get them access to that.
And I imagine for you guys, since you are chatting with a lot of institutions and kind of like savvy traders, that like the asset specificity and like the trade actually might be more important than just the private balance.
Correct. From like like retail, I've questioned this from various parties. They simply do not care if people see what they've traded because they're not trading large enough for this to mean anything, right? Like they're not trying to that they just don't want anyone to know it's a them that is doing it. So hiding your balances, hiding what you're interacting with. Institutions, on the other hand, like if they're moving like huge positions, like for example, I'm holding X treasury. I don't want people to see I'm trading out of this or trading out of that. They want that asset level privacy. They don't want people to see I'm moving $100 million of this, or I'm moving $50 million of this, or I'm going out of this. This is strategy leakage, which they don't want. So institutional level people do need a higher degree of privacy than anyone else or than retail. So that's my experience. Institutions want that privacy. For retail, it's not that important to go that in depth with it.
Go ahead. We're all so polite. Just get into it.
So it's still being developed, right? We're part of we're on the Miden's journey and Miden is on the cutting edge of defining the practical privacy. Yeah, go on, Jupeng.
Wait, are we still on the same question about the founders?
Totally.
Question?
Yes. Or if you want to pivot topics too, go for it.
No. Because I was thinking about this, but I think it depends on what they want to build, right? Because for privacy, I think that some part is not easy to build right now. I think, for example, neobank is one of the example. Like,
totally.
Let's say you want to build a neobank for remittance. I think Miden might not be the best option for now because you wouldn't have the infra like stablecoin infra provider on off ramp, as well as like some other provider you will need. So in that case, in this kind of project category, I think it might be better to launch on maybe Base because you will want to talk to the market very fast to validate your assumption. But if you are building this kind of DEX, like private DEX, I'm pretty sure people will use private DEX. So probably for those kind of project, you can start with Miden. But I think it depends on what they want to build.
Yeah, I actually want to echo that sentiment entirely. And also, sorry, I was just laughing at the cat coming into the screen all the time.
Yes, surprise guest. I love it.
Too. But I think also, so like adding to what Peng said, and I think that's incredibly important. When founders are evaluating kind of like where to build, I think they should really start by first mapping their product information or product's model as well. And I think this comes from maybe our 10 years of product experience, but maybe asking themselves the question like, who needs to know what? When do they need to know it? Does this information need to be public by default? Does it need to be private? But because some products I think would thrive with this radical transparency that Web3 has kind of like done for the past however long, but others are actually distorted by it. And I think this becomes even more important when you start thinking about who your users are. So retail users often accept transparency, kind of like what Faiz said, because they don't feel the immediate cost of the exposure. But the institutional users absolutely do. And I mean, we're also seeing this through our early research. So to sign up for our beta testing, we're kind of asking a whole bunch of questions about the importance of privacy to our specific users, their trade sizes, the struggles that they've had in the past, how they're actually mitigating their strategies now, and what their ideal situation should be. And we actually, the more answers we're kind of getting, we've had quite a lot of people giving us feedback and information now. We want to publish a little bit more about these results that we're getting, obviously abstracting away from
that would be cool.
But I totally would be kind of share this with you because it is quite interesting kind of seeing like the degrees to privacy that different user groups and categories want. I think that's super important to kind of like think about because it's not just about institutions, even though that is kind of largely where we're aiming to go, but retail users also deserve kind of like that dignity and safety in their daily trading too.
Yeah, my take would be that most of use cases at least benefit from more privacy than less. And for retail users, so I used to work with Web2 privacy back in the day, many years ago. And most of us, or we all actually silently agreed to the constant surveillance from the surveillance capitalism, as some say. But everybody, or most of the people would actually prefer not to. But then again, this is not very public. You cannot think about it, so it's easier to go through. So I would think, unless there are specific use cases that actually benefit from transparency, like you mentioned, Devon, I would think it's always a value added, even if the users don't explicitly ask for it in general.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think the thing that like we've observed as part of kind of our collaboration with a bunch of you guys and the pioneers is every single pioneer is extremely product oriented, which is very rare, I think, in just crypto more broadly. And so it's cool to hear how deeply you guys have thought about one, your businesses and how it'll benefit from the stack, but also two, like the edge cases and how you're trying to target different sorts of users and things like that. Cool. I mean, now I think we're going to move on to the rapid fire segment of this. Again, very loose, so we can also get into other topics if we wanted to. But these are just quick questions that I personally had after seeing all the different sorts of pioneer apps being built and all of you guys building your separate businesses. So first question, what is the most spicy privacy prediction that you all have for applications this year?
Private B2B crypto payment.
Okay. Cool. So Qash.
Yes.
Okay. I love it. Next.
I think public by default might start looking irresponsible. Like I feel like people are going to start moving towards more of like where privacy is going to be built into their applications. It's probably not going to be loud. People aren't going to be screaming out anymore. But I think that that's going to be kind of like what we expect from applications in the Web3 space.
Why do you think that is? Do you think like when I hear that, I immediately think it's because of things like prediction markets and how there's like some like borderline irresponsible behavior that comes from it. But like, why do you think public might be seen as low-key irresponsible?
Well, prediction markets are a wild one as well, because that's actually a super interesting one. And just in terms of leakage and control and insider trading and all of the wild and fun things, as well as oracles and who decides the results. But from my side, I think, so I mean, like right now, most applications are treating privacy more as a feature, right? You can, some of them, you can enable it, but you've already leaked half your data, like I don't know, like your MetaMask, for example, you can go and see all those things that you're still signed and given permission for. And I feel like we're moving now more towards architecture where exposure is more optional rather than assumed. And as you actually mentioned as well, so like compliance by surveillance is kind of the crutch that I feel like people are using. And the next wave of apps should really be proving correctness without actually broadcasting everything. So maybe like 5 years from now, building financial apps with radical transparency by default will actually just feel as easy as storing,
private key in a TXT file.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so not illegal, not reckless, maybe just a little bit uncomfortable for most users, but it'll get there.
Love it. Mieszko, you're up.
Do we have to be realistic?
No. The less realistic, the more fun.
Nice. So 25% of TradFi dark pool volume on chain.
Whoa. Okay. I like it. I think that's like directionally accurate.
I think that's a good one considering like how much actual TradFi goes through dark pools at the moment. Like that's that's not hard to imagine. I think that's a really cool one, yeah.
Right, and if done well, it would reduce friction for them as well. So why not?
Change the game a bit.
Check out the middleman. Yeah, I think an interest, like, I don't know, like, if it's true and like if it makes sense or not, but like to me, like there's been a host of private apps like that's been around for years, right? I'm not going to say like names or anything, but a lot of them have struggled with growth and moving in certain directions. So I think whoever figures out private compliance or privacy with compliance, I think they win. Because they get the growth, they're going to get the people that actually want privacy. Based on my research, that is the institution, that is the high net worth individual. Those are the good actors. They want privacy and they don't mind compliance, right? So I think whoever figures out how to tack that on and work with it, I think they win, and they will take it to the next level. And I think a lot of people are going to lose out because of not being compliant. I think they're just going to be more failed private apps.
And when you say compliance, do you mean like classic PII compliance and like those sorts of things, or are you talking about on-chain compliance? Because like there's models where you can have like rules on top of transactions, and you know have ways of like reverting funds if you think about the system in the correct way. So are you talking more like crypto privacy with on-chain compliance, or crypto privacy with something like, you know, a private software tacked on top?
So I mean, compliance is different things in different jurisdictions, and it's different things to various actors, right? But on-chain compliance specifically, privacy creates a problem for on-chain compliance due to the nature of how private blockchains work, right? It's posting proofs online. It's not like posting all the data. That creates a bit of an issue. Like, how do people confirm the transactions? Who do you auditing it to? Do people trust the proofs that are being posted? Like I can say I did this. I can show you my audited proof. Do regulators agree with it? Do they just go with it? These privacy blockchains, or like at the high level, like for example, the Midens of the world, and that they need to engage with regulators to agree that their stuff is compliant and that their systems work the way it's supposed to, because it's not public information. So how do we work with those regulator operators? To what degree do we expose information, and can we expose information? So I think that's what I mean. I think it's a very tricky subject. Like, I mean, Chainalysis pretty much handles, I think, most people's on-chain data and compliance related queries at the moment. But how do we do this with private blockchains? It's difficult. There's enforceable rules which can make it even better, right? Like baking in enforceable rules to make sure that transactions only go through once you know that they are abiding by X set of rules. We're working on some pretty interesting things there that we're going to release soon as well. But I think it's a big deal. I think it's huge, and I think whoever figures that out first, they win.
Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of private blockchains in lockstep with things like regulation and compliance. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool.
One as well, like I mean, like as you're kind of like operating in this private space and regulation is still catching up and everyone's building really, really fast. How do you kind of create those compliance standards as they're growing, especially in these like completely private systems? I feel like we've created a whole new set of problems for ourselves that now we're trying to solve through things like compliance as code. And there's some teams that are working on it really, really well, but there's also a lot of really big open questions. The privacy salon in Argentina had some really hot takes around it as well, being like privacy for everyone except terrorists was one of the titles of the talks. And like, how do you regulate that? All of the addresses are private. Do you have blacklists? Do you have, how do you actually make that possible, make that happen? Especially now, as Faizaan said, every jurisdiction is different. You have to kind of like self-volunteer information a lot of the time. And then even then, how do you control that? And can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been working on that.
And should you?
And should you, right? A gnarly set of
responsible are you, right? How responsible should your product be for maintaining and managing what your system is doing and capable of?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Amazing, excellent takes. What about one app?
Add one more thing. It's like, so Miden is not absolutely absolutely private in that sense. It allows for the new ones, and it's a huge design space that has legal in it as well. But what I wanted to say is that I don't really think there is a clear line in between on-chain and off-chain compliance, especially with systems like Miden with the edge execution. That they will be merging and merging, and at some point we won't be saying something is on-chain or off-chain. It's basically be one integrated system.
Hell yeah. End state. That's the eventual end state. Amazing. All right. What is one app category that only works with privacy? And you cannot say the app category that you're building in. It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one.
I know. Yeah, you can't say no payroll, no trading. Yeah.
KYC and credit scores.
Ooh, that's a good one. Why credit scores?
Well, talking on chain. So when you think about already blockchains being the rails for finance and legal, as I see it, as the end state, as we probably all see it, you will want to run your credit score based on your chain history and assets, but you probably don't want everybody to be able to do it, and also possibly to leak as little information, even to the actuaries or whoever does that. So ZK can really help with that specifically. And you don't want to be, you don't want to be kidnapped but have the most strongest credit score that you have, but without the risk of being kidnapped. Yeah?
Love it. Well said.
I feel like any app where, I mean, this is kind of like a cop-out one, I guess, like revealing any intent changes the outcome. Or like it can't function properly in radical transparency. I thought like a weird one would maybe be like extremely private, maybe like high value DAO governance. Because at a small scale, transparency is great, but at a large scale, I feel like it might distort behavior. Because a lot of the time, the governance of a DAO involves like a lot of really meaningful or strategic direction, and that transparency could actually change the incentives of the participants.
I feel like we've seen so many examples of this too, where it's just like DAO governance is just like fallen on its face because of how much information is out there.
Yeah, with everyone, I guess, like delegating their votes or vote buying strategies. I mean, there's like whale intimidation. There's so many things, I guess, like that impact how smaller voters are actually able to then participate or vote to just wait until the last minute. Like I guess there's just like a lot of things I think that could be improved on it. I don't think any of the pioneers are building something like that right now, but it's a cool one.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
I guess for the grant distribution platform, like Questbook, with privacy might be great, because right now all the payment, like for example on Questbook, is readable. So as long as this payment is made to my company, I can know what my company is doing, and then I can just go as far as I want, even if it's paid to maybe individual, and then later I transfer back to my company. Then I still can go back to my company, some internal budgeting or something. Maybe it's a good one. I don't know.
No, that's great. Faizaan.
Is my mic on? Yeah. So I think not necessarily blockchain related, but the app category that only exists with privacy for me should be messaging. It's not, and it irritates me.
Ooh, good one.
But it should be. It should be. I mean, that's why I use Telegram. That's why I like Telegram. That's how peak data sovereignty, right? That's power over who we contact with, and that being private between me and whoever I am contacting. I think a lot of people like maybe don't care or feel that their items are private, even if it's not. But I think that's a big one. I think that privacy for messaging applications, interacting applications like that are of utmost like importance. On a more chain level, I would say any form of identity applications, like it needs to be private. Like anything, like for example, if governments, which I don't understand why they have not migrated to various like blockchain solutions, privacy. I think privacy was a bit of a issue for that, right? You know, putting government data or putting public data like that on private applications. Perhaps with private blockchains now, we'll see a bit of a shift into some some governments may be shifting toward private systems like that for various identity solutions.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think it's kind of like security. Like you don't really care about privacy until you actually need to care about it. And I think the same thing goes for security, where like most retail users don't really care about security, or in the wallet world, they really don't save private keys until they really need to. And then it's a big problem. And then you all of a sudden realize it. Yeah, great. All right, last one to round it out. If your users don't notice privacy, does that mean you did it right?
Yes. Privacy
Yes.
should be inherent.
Devon's laughing. Why?
Yeah, I do. Like I think you're doing it right. I don't think it's always as simple as that, but yeah, I think it should be kind of like one of those things where people are seeing or feeling less fear around it and less convenience, right? Because there's always less inconvenience, because there's always like that trade-off between privacy and convenience that I think is stopping a lot of people. So I think if you're doing it properly, it should work like that.
I'd say it depends on the users. For the ones for whom the privacy is really important, they might need to be able to verify it. So they might want to notice it, right? To make sure that, okay, like my trade is actually private and I won't get front round.
Makes sense. Awesome. All right. Well, we are. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like something someone told me in a user interview a couple of days ago, which I think sums this up perfectly. He said, like, because he had like various concerns of, privacy protocols, posting the proof on chain, not being able to verify it. How do I verify it? Like, host of other issues that he mentioned. He was like, if I can just click a toggle on like MetaMask, which was his primary like crypto interaction tool, that says private, he would use it 100%. It would be a no-brainer for him to just switch it on.
Yeah. So having the disclosure and the ability to opt in to a system, if should you want something private.
Yeah, I think
No,
kind of
he
like
said you will just toggle it on.
Yeah,
leave it on.
You don't want that friction, right? So the friction is not there, but which is great UX, but also you need to still guarantee that, like, have this explicit assurance for people. So, like, yeah, that opt-in kind of a thing. Our user interviews have been, it's been really, like, informative.
I was going to say, you guys have to publish that and text it to me when it's out, because I'm very, very curious what the findings were. It sounds like you've had different cohorts of users and they all kind of want like slightly different experiences. So would be very interesting to dig into that. Part two.
I'm keen.
Cool. All right. Well, we are wrapped up for today. Thank you all so much for joining, and very, very excited to see the kind of next iterations you're all building in the Pioneer program. And as always, like the bar that Miden holds for both its tech and ecosystem teams is always so high, and I continue to be amazed by everything people like yourselves are building. So thank you for joining today. I know we had a bit of time zone coordination, so good night, good morning to everyone all around the world, and yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Aditi.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.